Me with Kelly Springer. Kelly, this our guest today. Oh, trust me, we're gonna have a great conversation because it relates so much to what you do on a daily basis as an entrepreneur, as a woman. So introduce our guest.
Today, we are joined by Eliza VanCort, communications strategist, keynote speaker, and author of the best-selling A Women's Guide to Claiming Space, right? I love this. Stand tall, raise your voice, and be heard. She's a Cornell Cook House Fellow and founder of the Actors Workshop of Ithaca, known for giving practical tools that help people speak clearly, lead confidently, and yes, claim their space. We are so excited to have Eliza with us today.
So excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled.
Absolutely. So I'm going to jump on this first, Kelly, and say, thinking about where did you come from to get to this point? The book, the way you teach people in communication, because it's such a challenging thing to communicate. I wouldn't have imagined after doing 20,000 plus episodes in 15 years to that when I was a quiet, very tall boy playing basketball that didn't want to even get in front of anyone ever, to the point today where I can talk anywhere, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a process, but communication is such an important skill.
Yeah, it really is. And I had a circuitous route for sure. I started out with a really tough childhood. And because of that childhood, I was always trying to make myself really small. And in fact, I started to conflate invisibility with safety. I thought if I could just be invisible, I'll be safe. But of course, being invisible isn't safe. It's really dangerous. And it took me a long time to figure out how to communicate with power, how to communicate with confidence. And I had a head injury, actually. Somebody was in their car and they were texting and driving and they hit me in the head with their car while I was on my bike. And during that whole experience, I lost my ability to communicate and I became a much, much poorer communicator. In fact, one of my friends said I sounded like a stoned third grader, which was terrifying. And I'd also never seen a stoned third grader. So I was like, that's not good. I don't know what that is, but that's not good. And I had to rebuild all of my communication brick by brick. And the process of doing that, combined with all of my academic background and my background in the arts, came into this whole experience for me. And I ended up actually creating this step-by-step process on how to communicate. And it's changed my life. And I got really passionate about sharing it with other people.
That's fantastic.
So I see Cornell, Ithaca. Were you here? I'm in Central New York.
Are you? Are you in Central New York right now?
Yes, I'm in Skinny Atlas.
No way.
Yeah.
Yes, I grew up in Ithaca.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was born in Manhattan, but most of my life was in Ithaca. So
I'm
yeah,
gonna be there tomorrow night. I'm going to be right down in Lansing doing a talk with some. Yeah, I know.
No way. My friend was a judge in Lansing.
That is really funny. Okay, so that's why when I saw that, I'm like, that is wild that you were right here. So So tell me your background, because now I'm like, want to know all about you. Like, how did this whole thing come together?
Yeah, I mean, I actually went to CU Boulder for undergrad.
Okay.
Then I went to law school, and my whole goal was, I'm going to get into a top 5 law school. And I did. And then I realized at the end of my first year, and I got a scholarship to do whatever I wanted. And I thought, oh, I can do whatever I want. I don't want to do any of this. So I just changed course and got into an acting school and started doing acting throughout the city. And then I moved to Boston and I got a job as an acting teacher. And I'm embarrassed. This is so embarrassing. Now I'm looking back on it and I'm like, oh God. But at the time I was young and I thought, oh, I'm just going to do acting for a little while because that's for people like acting teaching. It's for people who can't act. And then I started teaching and I went, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I get it. And so much of the technique I was teaching is all about the minutia of human behavior. And I'm convinced that's part of what saved me after my accident.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such a cool story.
Yeah.
So many different connections and things. Like, I mean, everything you say, there's like a different human connection. So my brother went to Boston Conservatory.
No way.
There was a Broadway guy. I mean, like literally everything you say, I'm like, this is so crazy.
That's what I do with you, Kelly. Every time I connect you to somebody, it's an interesting
wild.
thing. And I think when you kind of discovered acting in this way of teaching it and understanding it, what did you see, Eliza, in a way that made it different and more than that you're going to love this for a lot longer? Especially, going to law school, you learn the communication, definitely part of it in law school. For sure. And understanding arguments and understanding specific things, but how it really fed to you, say, this is something I really want to do.
Well, the Meisner technique is what I learned. I modified it, but that's what I learned. And the Meisner technique is all about observing human behavior and the minutia of human behavior. So for me, I'm somebody who, well, actually, most of us are sort of the star of their own movie, right? We all walk around and we're like, oh, I'm the star of my own movie, and everybody else is a supporting player. And so much of, I think, getting maturity and growing up is saying, oh, everyone else is the star of their own movie. I'm a supporting player in their movie. And that can be a real revelation because suddenly you have to really attend to other people. What the Meisner technique does is instead of focusing on your internal emotional life, it has you put your focus on your partner. And so you're starting to become this real expert in observing the minutia of human behavior. And it changes everything because you see things in a way that other people just don't see them. And it's really a superpower.
It seems like it. Yeah, go.
And you incorporate nutrition? Like how does that come into play in this?
Well, for me, I actually think that nutrition and the whole body, your whole self is really important. So if you're an actor and you want to be able to have, acting is actually has a huge amount of stamina. It's hard to believe, but it really is an incredibly physical job. And people who aren't in good shape, people who don't have a healthy lifestyle, it's harder. It really is. So it's not just, if you think about it, when you're communicating, you're not just communicating with your voice, right? You're communicating. Think about if you lost your ability to move your hands or your arms, it would be a completely different experience for you. But of course, you're incorporating that all the time. And so much for me of acting is learning how to make sure you are healthy in your mind, your body, your spirit, because it really allows you to do a full performance in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. And in fact, some of my acting students who struggle with their weight, are really overweight and want to lose weight, find it a little more difficult, particularly if they have to do a rigorous scene or something like that. And so health to me, I don't know a single successful actor who isn't somewhat obsessed with healthy living, because it's just a part of the whole thing is being a healthy person.
I agree. Even in our local high school here, we talk about sports nutrition. And I said, so just so you know, the actors should be in with this as well, because they are physically active doing their roles. And it's funny, the AD or the head of those organizations are not even thinking about acting being a part of, sports nutrition. But I'm like, this is a very physical, demanding occupation, right? So
absolutely. Kelly, I could not agree with you more. It's so physically demanding. This is kind of a funny story. So recently I was doing a shoot, and it was just a photo shoot. And we didn't have the AC going. For some reason, the AC died in the place. And I had to do all these crazy positions and hold them. And I was I'm in good shape. I work out every single day. I was sweating. It was like doing Pilates. I was balancing and bending over. And I cannot say to someone, I did this photo shoot and it was so hard, but the truth is it was physically hard. It helped for me to be in shape. It helped for me to have actually had a really robust breakfast that was healthy that morning. Makes a difference.
Right. I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we don't really focus on that enough, just in society in general. We focus a lot on caloric intake, but we don't focus on what is in those calories. How are we going to make sure? When you hear people losing weight, you almost never, at least I don't hear people talking about nutrition. They don't say, I really need to change my diet, make sure my nutrition. They say, I got to reduce my calories. Still, which you
No.
think that's kind of old school. Do you still see that? Because that's what I hear.
No, that's what. So just the other day I did our kickoff, and I was writing down actually some of the words you said, like step-by-step programs, behavior change, some of these things that, we're trying to do at our company. And I love the way that you worded it perfectly. And I just did a kickoff for a company that we got started. And that's our very first presentation, is that we used to just look at calories, but that's not the whole picture. It's not telling you anything about the nutrient denseness of the food. It's not telling you, is this food going to help your body or hurt your body? This isn't telling you anything. All it's telling you is this is a unit of energy, which it is, but it's not saying which way on the spectrum it's going to go.
Yeah.
So it's an old Weight Watchers way of thinking about things.
Yes. I remember this vivid memory years ago and I used to be married to a physician. So we would actually talk a lot about nutrition because he was primary care doc. And I had a student who I'd become friends with who was really struggling with her weight. And this was when they still had, I don't know if they even have them at the movies anymore, those big gulps. They were like this big. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Like the big gulps. And we were sitting there at the movie theater, and she had this big gulp, and she was, I felt so bad. And at the time I was pretty young, so I didn't know what to say, but she had this big gulp in her hand, and she was saying, as she was filling it up with Coke, she was saying, I don't know why I'm not losing weight.
Oh.
She was like, it's not like I'm eating a lot. And years later, she came to me, and she'd actually lost a lot of weight and was feeling really healthy. And, I'm not a big proponent of women looking particularly thin or falling into any beauty standard. In fact, I think that they can be very unhealthy, but to be healthy is a completely different thing than, starving yourself, right? They're very, very different, not to be conflated. And she said, I didn't realize that I was drinking so much Coke. She just didn't realize that was actually what was going on with her, and she just hadn't been educated.
Like that's the ding ding ding. I say that all the time. I'm like, how can you change your diet if you don't know what to do or not do? Like, if you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly. It's so interesting, the parallels between that and teaching people communication, because with communication, the way that I explain it to people is, you'll see these things on YouTube where somebody says, tomorrow, you're going to have all of your communication transformed if you do my, whatever course and pay me $1 zillion for my course. And you can't do that. That's not how communication, that's not how physicality and voice works. The way that works is you don't know what you don't know. You know what you don't know, but you can't do it yet. You can do it if you really, really focus and you really think about it. You can do it without thinking about it in an automatized way. And I would imagine that the same thing is with nutrition, that, you don't know what you don't know, and then slowly you move to a point where it's natural. Is that similar when you're teaching nutrition?
100%. So again, I loved your words, because we really have built a step-by-step program so that people can come back each week and learn one more nugget, and then put that into their lives and come back and say, like, okay, that was hard, or this was easy. Okay, now we're on to the next little nugget, and let's see how we implement that, and then the next and the next and the next. So over 12 weeks, people are learning, but also coming back and sharing the experience, or what was hard, what was easy, how are they able to implement it. And then over that 3-month period, they're taking in those little pieces so that they're able to actually put it into their lives. And so what we see, I mean, it's a generic, stupid word called transformation, but it's transformational because they're able to take that information and use it right away. And then over those 3 months, truly understand that it's not just magnesium or adding in protein or just this or just that. It's truly this whole gamut of different things that they need to understand so that it all comes together. And we've been able to reverse type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, fatty liver disease. I mean, the results in just 3 short months, because people are able to change those habits. And like you said, behavior change.
Yeah. I think that kind of creates a systemic change in the way you think, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yes. And like you said, it doesn't matter, if you don't know the difference, if you've never been taught. And that's where we explain things in a very simplistic way. And I'm sure you do with communication, of using analogies. And like you said, I love the analogy of you're your own star and people are just like the side. And that's where it kind of is with nutrition. Like your body, like you have to fuel your body, and you have never thought about it that way. You're just like eating mindlessly or having that big gulp. You have you're not even aware that that's what it's doing inside of you.
Right.
So I think that I see that aha moment pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And a lady on the last call, like you said, with the calories, she goes, I never thought about it. I go, look, the serving size is there to show you it should go a part of a whole meal, not just have Triscuits, but you want Triscuits as part of a meal where you have fruit and vegetable and protein. Like it's supposed to be a part of something. She's like, I never thought about it that way. And I'm like, that's why I'm here. That's why we put together that program. But I'm sure you're thinking the same way, but that's where I love the way that you spoke about it. Your elevator pitch was perfect.
So Eliza, the book relates, kind of tell us more about what we should expect for the book.
Well, the book is a very unusual book. It's called A Woman's Guide to Claiming Space. I always joke it probably should have been called A Human's Guide to Claiming Space with a strong emphasis on women, but like that wouldn't have been an easy thing to market. So it's A Woman's Guide to Claiming Space because there are things that are specific only to women. And what I found when I was thinking about writing the book, I looked around and I saw there were a lot of books that were guidebooks out there for people, but they really were guidebooks based on research about men. And some of the stuff that they tried to apply actually was harmful to women. And so I decided, you know what, there needs to be a guidebook, like a 360 guidebook for women. So this book covers everything from posture to imposter syndrome, to how to set a boundary. It covers how to lift other people up. It covers everything. And that's because my background is just really diverse. So I was able to hit the first whole chapter is really from my acting school. It's, how do you hold yourself? How do you mirror someone? How do you use silence or cadence to lift an idea? All of those things. And those are just really from my acting school. And then as it goes on, I integrate more and more things in it. And it's been really incredibly rewarding, especially all the letters that I get. And my favorite letters, my funniest letters are the people, and I swear I've gotten so many of these that start with, "My wife made me read your book." And then it's like, and I have to say, and usually it's the section on anti-mentors when people men particularly say, I feel like that's universal, which it completely is. So it's been really rewarding and one of the most exciting experiences of my life, meeting everybody after they've read it when I go and I do talks. It's incredible.
Wonderful.
But I think that can help in all aspects of sales or dealing with your significant other, or, even with children. I mean, like, those are what you're saying is like, those are life skills, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one of the examples that I give when I give my talk, and I always joke, I say, if you're a parent, you can Venmo me, send me a thank you note because it's so powerful. So, as a parent, you don't want to yell at your children. And I raised 4 kids. So I have 3 bios and then I have my nephew. And I didn't want to yell at them, but I also knew sometimes they didn't do things and I really wanted them to do them. So I would do this. And this is a very simple thing that people can do if they really want somebody. If you're listening, what I'm doing right now, and if you're watching, you'll know, is I'm not moving my head. So not moving your head is a gigantic power move. And it can really tell somebody, you have to listen to what I'm saying. Because in life, we affirmation nod. And sometimes you can over affirmation nod. For example, if you're feeling insecure and someone's coming after you and you're going, okay, which is like, bring it, I want more. The opposite of that is not moving your head at all, which is telling people I'm not okay. And there are a million little tricks like that that are so easy to implement that if you know them, it's kind of like Neo. I'm a nerd. I'm a sci-fi nerd, but it's like Neo in the Matrix, right? You have like the coding on the wall and you're looking and you're going, oh my gosh, I know how this works. For me, when I'm communicating, I can see the communication coding, and that allows me to never be out of control with my communication. It's an incredibly powerful feeling. I always tell people, use it for good, don't evil, because you can really use this for the wrong reasons. And if you use it for good, you can really make a difference.
No, thank you. That's going to help for my next sales call.
Don't do it if you don't want to scare somebody, though. That would not be a good idea. One thing you can do, though, is you can get quiet. That's one of the best ways to actually make a sale. So if you're talking about something and then you say, so this is really important, and we're excited about blah, 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 blah. And then you get louder. People tend to really tune into that. That's called lifting an idea, because they feel like you're talking directly to them, because as human beings, we build intimacy by telling secrets. So there are little things like that you can use that are a little bit more applicable to sales rather than scaring somebody.
All right. Well, fantastic. Eliza, where do you want people to go for the book? Do you have other projects you want to talk about today?
I do, actually. Before we go, one of my acting students produced a film. I produced it. He wrote it, directed, and edited it, called Stationed at Home. It's one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. I've had a lot of rewarding experiences recently, and I feel so blessed. But a lot of my students are in it, and it's getting an incredible reception. I call it the little film that could. It's called, again, Stationed at Home. It's a beautiful story about people from all different backgrounds. Actually, you're going to love this, Kelly, from Binghamton, New York.
Oh my gosh.
It's set in Binghamton, New York. It's in black and white, and we've gone all over the world with it in festivals. We've had we had just a wonderful reception. It was just announced in Variety that we got distribution.
Wow.
So we are so excited, and it's now available actually for pre-order on Apple. So check it out. It's one of those kind of fairy tale stories about—
Say the name again.
It's called Stationed at Home, and it's a bunch of people from an acting class coming together and making a film that's kind of taking the film festival world by storm, and now it's going to be out there in the world. So it's pretty exciting.
Amazing. I'm heading to Binghamton to present at their hospital, and then going to Lansing.
No,
I know. No. This is literally, we're connected.
Oh, I love that so much for you. Well, say hi to it. I miss it. The sun here is lovely, but I keep waiting for a cloud just to break up the day. And it's sunny all the time here in LA. So please say hi to the beautiful clouds.
Well, we appreciate you getting up early with us this morning and coming on. And so the best place, people go to Apple to check out the movie, and your book's available everywhere, right?
The book is available everywhere. Yeah. And you can also go to my website, which is elizavancort.com, which has all the info about all the things.
And go to kellyschoice.org and pick up the new Weight Loss Era book. I appreciate you guys, and thanks again.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
So wonderful to meet you, Kelly.
That was a special simulcast of Neil Haley's show and Talk Nutrition to Me, guys. Take